The what did I read? I have terrible memory. Hey, how's it going? How's life? My name is Sophia. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my April wrap up. My April / Owls wrap up. I tried to do a TBR for the Owls Readathon, and out of the 3 books I wanted to read, I actually only ended up reading one of them, and that was a graphic novel. But technically I still passed my Owls. Technically I followed the prompts. So yeah. Without further ado, let's get into all the books I read in the month of April. The first thing I binge read in the month of April was the Fallen Kingdom series by Morgan Rhodes. In this series, we are following 4 different perspectives. Lucia, who is a prophesy sorceress. Magnus, who is heir to his father's throne. Cleo, who is a spoiled princess. And Jonas, whose brother is brutally murdered by one of Cleo's friends. In this book, we have all of the fantasy tropes you can think of are going to be within this book. You've got the Chosen One trope, you've got the Warring Kingdoms trope, you've got the quest to find magical objects tropes, you've got an empire trying to conquer the land tropes. It's just like a hodgepodge mix of a bunch of stuff. And honestly, it felt like the author didn't know what she wanted to do. The plot was not concise at all. It felt all over the place. The character development, in my opinion, wasn't really there. The characters felt like they were only used to further the plot and nothing else. This fit the prompt for Muggle studies, which is read a book from the perspective of a Muggle. And technically, out of the 4 perspectives we were following, 3 of them are Muggles. And then the next prompt for the Owls that I chose was the second book in the series, Rebel Springs, which is a history of magic, which is read a book featuring witches or wizards. So technically, I completed my Owls. I don't feel like holding up the entire series because that's too heavy. One thing I will say about the Fallen Kingdoms series is that the writing style was pretty freaking good. It was very fast-paced. It was very addictive. The way Morgan Rhodes writes tension in her series was chef's kiss. This makes sense because I think it's on her Goodreads profile where it says that she is a screenwriter, which is it makes a lot of sense for the writing style because it felt very episodic, very like, oh, CW drama. But other than that, I don't think, if you are a lover of fantasy and if you are well read in fantasy, this isn't something I would recommend. I probably recommend this to a newbie because they're super quick and easy to get through. But yeah, if I had to give the entire series a rating, it would be 2.5 to 3 stars. While they were good, but they weren't anything super amazing. The next 2 graphic novels I read are Monstress volumes 3 and 4 by Takeda and Marjorie. I read volume 3 for the prompt Mimbulus Mimbletonia, which is read a book starting with the letter M. Now, if you haven't heard me talk about Monstress, I don't know. In Monstrous, we are following our main character, Micah, who has a monster living inside of her. We follow her journey as she discovers the history of her past and the reason as to why she has this demon living inside of her. This story deals with themes of trauma, war, and the consequences of war. Out of all of the graphic novels so far, out of all of them, Volume 3 is definitely my favorite. I don't know, so the ending just crushed my soul in a way that I just love for my endings to do. Volume 4, even though Volume 4 wasn't quite my favorite, I still loved it. I love watching our characters develop. I love watching them grow into themselves. Micah is a very unlikable character, but as the story progresses, you understand where she's coming from and you sympathize with her. Meanwhile, you have Kippa, who is the most precious being in the entire universe, and I just love her. And I love their dynamic with each other, because Micah is so dark and brooding, and she's just like, ugh, life sucks. And meanwhile, you have Kippa, who's just like a sweet ray of sunshine, and I just love it so much. I would highly recommend you pick up Monstress if you haven't before. One thing I will say about this graphic novel is the world building is heavy. Like, there's a lot of political machinations, there's religions, there's a lot that goes into building the society. If you want a graphic novel that's light, quick, and easy, I wouldn't recommend this. But if you are someone who enjoys world building, enjoys character development, I would highly recommend Monstrous graphic novel. The final book I read in the month of, I keep wanting to say May, but April. Rum of Ash by Tasha Suri. This is the second and final book in the Books of Umba duology. In this book, we are following our main character. What's her name? I forgot her name. Arwa. So in this book, we're following our main character, Arwa, who is the little sister of Meher. So the story kicks off with Arwa. So we are following our main character, Arwa, as she is sent to live in a convent for widows after she has survived a bloody massacre. I liked it, I did, but I didn't like it as much as I liked the first one. I think for the first book, I was super attached to the character. I loved Meher. I adored almost all the characters. Even the characters I didn't like, they still had a special place in my heart. The writing style was just as beautiful, just as purpley, just as delicious. But for some reason, I just wasn't as attached to Arwa as a character, nor was I as attached to her love interest. Another thing that I didn't enjoy as much as the first one was the world building. The world building is super interesting. It's a really soft magic system. It's super interesting, and you learn something about the world in the first book that is just like, ooh, like, this is dope. And so going into the second book, I expected more of that particular world building, which is not what we got. We got to see a completely different side of the world, completely different magic system, and I just didn't like it as much as I liked the first one. It's still an enjoyable read. I would still recommend it, and I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. Those were all the books I read in the month of April. Feel free to comment down below. Let me know some of the books you guys read in the month of April. I hope to see you soon with another video. Bye!